We're going to pass the mic over to Robert. Robert, mind giving yourself an introduction? Robert with Genius.
Hello, my name is Robert Chinito. I'm an entrepreneur, inventor, and I worked in the corporate space, the cryptocurrency corporate space, as a corporate officer. I was first introduced in late 2010 to Bitcoin when I was working for a cyber warfare company in Atlanta. I was an early Bitcoin miner in 2011. And ever since then, I'd stuck to what made Bitcoin great, being open, transparent, and really a mission to change the world. I focused mainly on crypto adoption with on-ramps, off-ramps, exchange, ease of use. And I'd worked with the Dash Core Group about, 5-6 years ago. I worked with the Dash Core Group and a couple other companies, and we brought Dash from number 30 to 40 something in the market cap to number 2, or number 3 it was, I believe. Since then, I was writing articles on money, what it really is, the past, present, and future of it. And, the fact that people wanted better money. And I observed a fundamental pattern that what really made the technology of money better and better over time had a lot to do fundamentally with attention, people's attention and intentions. And that began to craft the Genius token, Genius Smart Financial Contracts. That's
all right. Sorry, I was scrambling to get my mute button off. I was just reviewing some of the tweets and things of that nature. So, extensive, interesting background that you got over there, Robert. So, in Genius, the project is there's a lot of depth to it. I'm excited to have you break it down for me and learn more about what you guys are bringing to the table with it sounds like a mining DApp. So, awesome utility that you guys have going over there. So, awesome. So, welcome, everybody. CoinMerge.io, Influencer's Choice AMA. My name is A1. I am the CMO of CoinMerge Technologies, and we are building CoinMerge.io, which is the all-in-one crypto social media platform. That is why we're here today hosting these 3 great projects. We are really just trying to be the hub for crypto, whether you're an investor or a project. You could go to our platform to chat, chart, trade, and earn some extra engagement. We have about 15,000 people signed up currently. It is free to sign up, available on Apple, iOS, Google Play, whatever it may be, or PC. So give it an opportunity, sign up, engage, go on there, shout your projects out, vote for your projects, whatever you need to do, get the word out there. We're really just trying to push DeFi forward, and we are happy to host this AMA today. We're going to jump into the projects here, starting with actually Genius Token. So, Robert, I always like to start the AMA portion off with a simple question, and it's really an introduction of where did the vision for Genius come from?
I don't know. Where it came from with me was really thinking a lot about what value was and how, even though value seemed to be very different between each person, I couldn't help but to be a little too curious about what is universally valuable to everyone. And that's important, right? The more we can get in tune with that. So I think it came from just that curiosity and me spreading those ideas with other people and writing blogs on, hey, everybody, what is universally valuable to all of us? And are we able to encapsulate that in a token? Because if we could encapsulate that into a token, something that's universally valuable to everyone, if we could do that and could learn from the mistakes and the positives of all other cryptocurrencies and all other technologies and all other currencies themselves and store of values, then something could be a lot more universally accepted and powerful. That's where I think it originated from. And where it grew to from there was the fact that everyone has something valuable, right? Or some sort of passive storage of valuable stuff for them. They own real estate, or they own gold and silver, precious metals, or they own magic cards because those are valuable to them and they like to collect them. And so really there's this pattern in civilization where governments and then later companies wanted to make products like this for people. But these products they often fail. And, today we're in a bear market. People say we're in a bad economy right now. And the truth is we don't have this bad economy because we all suck and we're not talented. We have this bad economy because the very thing that is running it, these currencies, these national currencies, the truth is they're faulty and they're terrible, and the financial products out there are terrible. That's why we're all experiencing this, quote, terrible thing. And so there's this pattern where you have governments and companies and people working really hard to represent value. And, if you can really pinpoint what is the only true, scarce thing in our universe and what is really, valuable to everyone, it ultimately boils down to attention, to people's attention. A person's attention is valuable. You can only attend to so many things at one time, regardless of all the time you have. So Genius is a token and protocol. It's multiple contracts working together for the sake of encapsulating human attention and intentions into a token. And it does this by incentivizing users economically to act and pay attention in ways that build value. And when I say build value, I mean like a number going up. I literally mean accounting value.
You're right.
Does that make sense?
No, it 100% makes sense. And I think for the listeners here today, it's going to make a lot more sense as we dive into the utility of the project. But, and it's starting to, I reviewed the website. I went through and I breezed the white paper. You have an extensive white paper, so it's very difficult to absorb and digest, in a couple of hours before this AMA. But I think it will make a lot more sense as we get into the utility and attention, a person's attention. You're right. It's opportunity cost, right? Every individual has a certain amount of time, certain amount of, mind span and attention they can afford to put in certain areas to be somewhat successful. Some can multitask better than others, etc. But it sounds like you have a utility that you've built in place to help people in DeFi without absorbing as much attention. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. There's many ways to say it. There's many ways to say it, and ultimately, it boils down to, okay, well, what does this do differently, and who's interested in this, right? Target audience, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, 100%. So for the listeners here today, I encourage you to go to the Genius Twitter handle, which is pinned up in the Jumbotron up there. I'm a very hands-on person, as I say in every space, but they have the Genie.app in their link tree, which will give you all the resources you need to really follow along and read as we digest this project here. It is, there's a lot to it. There might be a little bit deeper of a scope, but extremely, not to, no pun intended, genius DApp that they have in place with a lot of thought behind it and actually action behind it. So, Robert, let's dive a little bit deeper into Genius. So you go onto the website, high yield blockchain certificate of deposit designed to reward stakers for keeping commitments and stop early on staking. So let's talk about the Genius DApp that you guys have built and, what problems is it solving in the market? What advantages is it giving DeFi traders, etc.?
With something like, whenever you have a new cryptocurrency that's doing something very novel and very useful and very sorely needed in the world, you often have a difficult time explaining it, right? But I don't think we're going to get into that. For those of you who remember hearing about Bitcoin first, there was this enigma around it, mining, but Bitcoin was doing something that people really had a hard time grasping, but people could get it. They could get it, especially when they could see things. And even with Ethereum, right? And so I'd like to, cut through a lot of the technological, beautiful things and cool and interesting things and just say that, Genius simultaneously serves two main audiences. Genius serves traders who are looking for arbitrage, right? Traders look for that all day, and bots have. Genius also serves people who are saving to make the most out of their passive income and their passive value, not today, but sometime in the future. And what that looks like for traders and for savers, what that looks like is, Genius, when it comes to, people who are looking for economical opportunities, Genius's smart contract has a pool of collateral and, works with Genius users to create constant arbitrage opportunities between the open market and a private market. And that private market is the Genius smart contracts market. So what does this look like? Well, at least every 14 hours, what happens is people who are watching this, who are watching the Genius stability pool, who are learning about Genius, they find themselves real opportunities where they can buy Genius on the open market, and the smart contract is able to give them better value for what they purchased. So there's this arbitrage. And, this is something that Genius early users have worked with and have made anywhere from like $500 to thousands of dollars, just by doing what the Genius smart contract wants to do, which is incentivize people to one, to deposit collateral into the Genius smart contract, two, to incentivize traders to when they do see that opportunity to take advantage of that, which ultimately only pumps Genius's price on the open market and not the private market. And some other points I could count there. But going onto savers, the ones who are saving their Genius, the ones who set up Genius miners with their, with either their collateral, their cryptocurrency collateral, their USD coin, or their Ethereum, or their Genius itself. They lock this Genius up into miners, which these miners are, they're holding on to shares for them and whatever. There's a lot of stuff they do, but ultimately, these savers, they're receiving extra Genius for that. They're receiving Genius for having this value locked somewhere for them to use at another time in the future. And where does that value come from? Yeah, it comes from inflation. It comes from penalties for people who broke their promises early. And a great majority of it comes from the very traders who are paying attention to the arbitrage opportunities that Genius was programmed to make and consistently makes. So Genius is giving people exactly what they want in the world of arbitrage and in the world of saving.
So you kind of have my attention with the crypto the mining crypto over there. So essentially, using your dApp, an investor in Genie can stake their Genie to mine crypto. Now, are you mining more Genie, or are you mining certain certain coins that are in the market?
With the mining aspect for Genius miners, you only receive Genius token as the reward.
All right. That's awesome. And then, so the arbitrage opportunity for the investors, you're utilizing the app. Is it automated, or is it something that an investor would have to pay attention to?
What do you mean by automated?
I would say, by automated, like you have the Genius app, right? You put in your pool of Genius, and there's trading technology on the background that kind of buys and sells in order to, create some sort of arbitrage on certain coins, so to speak, versus having to day trade.
I understand what you're saying. The mechanics of Genius are, of course, completely automated. It's up to the user to see that opportunity and to take advantage of that. It's not creating arbitrage between. In fact, it really can't create arbitrage between like other collaterals, but it creates arbitrage between the Genius token itself and the open market.
Interesting. That makes sense. Now, can you talk about the team behind Genius currently? I believe you're the founder, you mentioned. Who else is behind the token right now? Or behind I want to say, not the token, the project, the business, the utility?
Okay. Genius itself is a completed product. The community is the team right now. Before Genius was released, I've stopped saying that I was a founder or co-founder because there's no company that's being founded. I'm trying to get away from these traditional words. I like to say co-inventor, and that's what I'm saying more lately. To see the team, there's a marketing room in Telegram. There's a Discord channel. There's a normal promotionals channel. There's a bear channel for people who, want to voice a lot of their, concerns or concern trolling or whatever type of trolling they want to do, and legitimate concerns. So the team itself is the community. The development for Genius, that's complete. Now the UI development, that's whoever wants to create a UI to interact with the Genius smart contracts differently. And there's such an explosion of things people can create for Genius that don't exist right now, as far as visualizing graphs, as far as automatically taking advantage of these arbitrage opportunities like bot creators and etc. There's just so much opportunity out there, and the potential for everyone, like I can't measure it. No one can measure that. There's just, wherever you point, like long ago, wherever you pointed in crypto, there was opportunity. Today, wherever you point in crypto, it's either opportunity or yet another scam or someone trying to take advantage of someone's ignorance. And what we have in the Genius ecosystem right now is wherever you point, there's opportunity. I'm not trying to avoid the answer of where the team is or who the team is, etc. But I'm being very sincere, and the best answer I can give you is the team is really becoming more and more the community itself.
No, that makes sense. I mean, the technology is alive, it's created, it's out there, and now it's just going to be its own organism, if you will. And as the community continues to adapt and build upon it, it's going to just become more genius, right? To be cliche.
Yeah, and even with people could ask the same questions with well, where's the Bitcoin team? Who's the Bitcoin team? Now, I wouldn't say it's the Bitcoin developers it's themselves. I would say it's all of the businesses that have been involved in, etc.
Now, is Genius a layer one, or are you guys bridged off or created off another chain?
No, Genius is it's an ERC20 token and also smart contract suite. And it was deployed to Ethereum. It was deployed to Avalanche. It was deployed to Polygon, and also deployed to Binance Smart Chain.
So you can purchase Genie off any of those chains?
Correct. You can go to any of the popular dexes, or you can go to the Genius smart contract itself and deposit the native token, whether that's Ethereum, Avalanche, Matic, etc., BNB, or you can deposit some other collateral. So you can get Genius by paying for gas, for calculations. There's multiple ways to get Genius. If you want to get Genius or look into it or experiment with it and get some sort of education from it, the best thing you can do is go to the website start.geni.app or start.geni.app and see your options from there. Purchase it from a DEX, deposit collateral to get a collateral miner, etc.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, that website is actually on their Twitter handle. So if you go up in the Jumbotron, you'll see Genius's Twitter handle. And I believe it's in the link tree, correct?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I know Genie.app is there. Genie Dab, Genius community website, the white paper, by Genius. You'll see all the different things there, the price charts, etc. A lot of the resources and information are right on their Twitter handle up there. So for anyone interested in that aspect. Let's talk more about the tokenomics of Genie per se. When did you guys deploy the contract or launch Genie?
About 16-ish days ago.
Awesome. And was it a fair launch? How did it launch?
It was, it was difficult and it was strict. There was a separate launch team, separate from the development team. And I mean, ultimately it turned into a bunch of big scripts, deploying contract after contract, across four different smart contract chains.
Yeah, I mean that it sounds like it was a complex launch per se, right? If you're going to be
It
deploying
was
a lot,
definitely, it was definitely one of the best launches in all of crypto history. And I say that being somebody who has watched many cryptos get launched and problems and et cetera. Um, I mean, the best launches I've ever seen where I thought the recent upgrade from Ethereum was pretty well done, especially considering that I understand a lot of the things that are problems in the background for it. Dash, Hex, those all had incredible launches, and Genius has definitely the most tight, well executed launch when it comes to security, um, when it comes to lack of problems after launch, when it comes to execution, it was pretty incredible.
are there any taxes when you purchase Genie?
No,
Completely tax free, which is huge. Obviously, you guys deployed on it looks like 4 or 5 chains right out the gate, which is enormous. And I think it gives it a lot of opportunity for swing trading when it comes to that, when there's no tax on it, and it creates a tremendous amount of volume. And when you have volume, also comes exposure. So I
I
tax free
appreciate that
tokens, I enjoy.
question. Yeah, I really appreciate that question. As there's like this normalization of tax that it's something you're always supposed to experience, but that really takes away from people. That takes away from a lot of things. So the philosophies behind Genius had a lot to do with really obeying people's natural rights and giving people what they wanted, what people want. People want some sort of sound, like value storage item, like a store of value. People do want the thing that they hold to not like just continuously just be inflated to the point of them being poor. Um, people don't want like to be forced into some tax that they don't agree to. So you'll find that all of the philosophies behind Genius, um, they really follow people's best interests.
No, that's great. Yeah, and taxation in the DeFi space has been normalized. I don't think it's an issue because there's a lot of great projects that are building based off the tax as long as they're used responsibly. But I do think tax-free, if you can afford it, is definitely the way to go. Coming out with utility without taxed, I think it sets a different standard. So that's why I asked. But again, I enjoy tax tokens and tax-free tokens because occasionally taxes will actually reward the investors as well, and create some passive income in that aspect. So, but
You could
I did want.
you could say that tax tokens have existed since Bitcoin as well. If you're, although in that sense, it's like transaction fees for transacting Bitcoin. You could say tax, but of course we all know that that was to prevent spam, right? Prevent people from spamming the Bitcoin ledger. But I really think in the years to come, we're going to find that tax tokens have all disappeared and people have realized it was a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to normalize DeFi and create these DeFi tokens to be some sort of currency, the taxation will ultimately have to be minimized, and gas fees will have to be minimized as much as possible, right? You go to a store, everyone says the Bitcoin pizza or whatever, but if you want to go to the store and pay for something in Ethereum, but you get, you want to buy a Pepsi with Ethereum, just using that per se, but you have to pay $2-3 in gas just to purchase that, that $3 bottle of Pepsi became $6. So in order to normalize DeFi as currency, you definitely have to reduce the cost of transactions and using it as much as possible. But yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I think my point, their taxation will have its purpose as this industry builds in some sort. But to your point, it will definitely be non-existent for the successful projects out there.
So you could say so with Genius, there are penalties with the tokenomics, right? And you could call those taxes as well. However, it's really voluntarily, completely on the user's side. If a user who is mining or et cetera, if they are going to run into a penalty or a tax, they're well aware of it. They're well aware of, okay, I agreed to have this miner for 90 days, or I agreed to have it for 30 days, or whichever, and it has earned all of this extra genius from mining. If I break my promise there, I'm going to be taxed to some degree. So I think it's fair to say, well, isn't that a tax too, right? Like, we're all coming up with this language of how to describe these things. But the core difference I want to point out there is that it's not always and mandatory. It's within the user's control.
Yeah, 100%. Almost just penalty fee, just like a bank, right? If you overdraw or something like that, there's some sort of penalty fees in line, which is common in currency. So I did want to ask you about a specific, and I think this ties into some of the tokenomics a little bit, but based on your website, there looks like there's a sacrifice option to earn Legacy Genie and claim a spot for Genius token. Can you talk about that a little bit? Dive into that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And just for I'm very much aligned with transparency and truth. And I just want to throw out there that I don't own, any of the websites. Not my website. The Genius, people who put this up, right? Oh man. Well, sorry. Besides that, right? So it was not mine on there. So, but something that's very important to understand is Jenny.app is the official app to go to. And within the tokenomics, et cetera, to learn more information, white paper, right, is the place to go. I'm sorry, please continue. I got a little distracted here too. I have my lovely little 3-year-old distracting me just there before Mommy took him. Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, no worries. And to be honest, the fact that you have your 3-year-old with you while you're doing this is extremely impressive. Mine goes off the walls, and I literally have to leave the house in order to do these sometimes if he's home. He's crazy.
Yeah,
so, but congratulations,
faces
man. Nothing like children, especially at that age. So happy for you over there. To repeat the question, it was revolved around on the platform or the website, there's an option to sacrifice in order to, or you sacrifice, I think, Legacy Genie to claim a spot, or sacrifice to earn Legacy Genie. And I was just wondering how that works.
So the sacrifice event, that had already happened. You can check out about that from sacrifice.to. It's the website. But let me summarize that for you. There was, almost last year now, 6-7 months ago, in May, it was announced that there was going to be a sacrifice, and that was going to be a majority of how Genius was going to be distributed, because that was believed to be a very fair distribution. When you had Ethereum first getting launched, and there being an initial distribution with that, and a lot of Ethereum tokens that did initial token offerings, IDOs, ICOs, etc. You had, people don't realize how hard those were. You would have all these people wanting to pay to have to have the first, or do something, whatever they could, do some work so that they could have the first initial tokens, right? The first distribution. And this, for most tokens, this turned into a lot of paperwork, a lot of remembering, a lot of human work and human activity that needed to happen. With sacrificing, which is really a concept since around 2018, the term a crypto sacrifice came around. And that whole idea was that everybody would pitch in their own work and their own funds to help something, to help bootstart, jumpstart, whichever, a new cryptocurrency that they believed in. So the sacrifice that happened with Genius, there was a crypto address that was given on the Binance Smart Chain and as well the Ethereum chain. There was a sacrifice address, and every single person who gave a transaction to that address, they received there was a way to calculate how many points they would have for that sacrifice points. And this was, this took out a lot of work of like, hey, have this other human being remember that this person, that they sacrificed their time, their energy, their value, their whatever. It took out a lot of work. Let's use the, sacrifices today are a great idea. It's, let's not leave this in the hands of humans. Let's get more and more humans out of it. Let's allow the blockchain itself to be the ledger of everyone who is involved. So the sacrifice, there was like a point system to that, which deemed what amount of the initial distribution everybody would receive. And that data, that was all audited. And, you can find an audit, online on sacrifice.to. I believe that's where you can find the audit. A third party audited that accounting data, and it's all verifiable on the blockchain. And then all of those individuals are able to claim the first supply of Genius. Now, you mentioned Legacy Genius. Legacy Genius Legacy Jenny was a pre-token that its only purpose there was to start the forward momentum of solving a very chicken and egg problem with early crypto, which is, hey, I want to get into a crypto. How do I get into it? And then there's no answer. Long ago with Bitcoin, it was like, cool, where do I get Bitcoin? And it was like, well, you got to mine for it. Okay, cool. How the heck do I do that? And like, nobody knew how to do that. Nobody knew how to just like download an app and click it and do these things to say start mining. And then it got more and more complicated. But here with Legacy Jenny, that was a pre-token. It did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. Its main purpose in life was to become like 14.5% of the total supply of Genius in the future, the official token. Its whole purpose was like a placeholder. Its whole purpose was to eventually disappear and become the new Genius token. So that's a very interesting history of the story. There's some mechanics played in there where what you had was, for sacrifice points, every dollar worth of a crypto got you X amount of points. And when it came to the Legacy Genius token, you got more than 3 times the amount of points for sacrificing stable coins. So this mechanic drove the Legacy Genius price up over 100x, right? And then you had this point where, you had, millions of dollars of liquidity for the Legacy pre-token, a token that was very clear about like, hey, this doesn't do anything, by the way, but the future Genius token will utilize it to do things. You had this thing like spiking insanely in value, and you had a situation where people where somebody who had like not even $1,000 of the Genius, where they could liquidate that, maybe hit like 8% slippage at most and get over $100,000. But they decided, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice that too. Long story short, this new concept for initial distribution called a sacrifice. Long story short, Genius was the largest sacrifice ever, besides the team from Hex that had brought that concept back to life. Genius was the largest besides those 2 projects, Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Genius, showing and evidencing that people really do care a lot about doing something with their passive savings and finding arbitrage economical activity that benefits them.
I appreciate that explanation. That's an interesting concept. To be honest, I'm newer into crypto, specifically, really just the voice for CoinMerge and the marketing expert, I guess not expert, but marketing person over here. So it was a learning experience for me as well, the sacrifice.
And it's really hard to be like an expert of experts in this industry. There's just so much going on, right?
100%. I try to bring some shows together and build stages for projects like yourself to get more exposure, etc. When it comes to the nitty gritty and the development and some of the technology behind blockchain, I'm forever learning, and I think we all are. So what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to, one, kind of leave the audience here with something, something important that maybe we did not cover today. But first, I want to give a call to action on where the listeners here today can learn more about Genius and interact with your community.
Well, let me give you 3 answers to that. One, Telegram and Discord are great. You can type into your web browser t.me/GeniCrypto or t.me/GENI crypto. The community is very helpful. We keep, like all of us adminning that community, myself included, we keep really good people around. Another area is jenny.to/smart contract. That's the white paper. Now, not everybody's into reading white papers, but, I do know if you read a little bit from it at a time, you will always pick something up. That's GENI.to/smart contract, all one word. And interestingly enough, while just using Genius and experimenting with it, sure, you can look at that as like educational expenses or such, but Genius mints, by all the actions you do on Genius, it'll mint NFTs for you. And these are cool, collectible, playful, fun NFTs that, one, pump the price of Genius, tokenomically, and two, they're educational NFTs. And so as you use Genius and receive NFTs from this, or go to OpenSea.org to look at the Genius collectibles, search for Genius collectibles NFTs, you'll see that these NFTs contain little chunks of information, bite-sized chunks of information about the features and how to use Genius, how to use it for yourself for saving or for finding good deals in the DeFi space.
Awesome. Yeah. And actually, I just noticed the tweet I did pin up in the Jumbotron up there. Again, that's the Genius main Twitter handle. A lot of updates are going through there, but it does have their Telegram right in that tweet. So if you want to go engage with their community in their Telegram, learn more, I'm telling you right now, it's extremely difficult to unpack the project like this, of this caliber, in 20 to 30 minutes like we have here today. But the research and the resources for you to do your research on Genie are all there. So again, up in the Jumbotron, there's a tweet. You have the Telegram handle. If you go to their main Twitter handle, you'll see all of the links and resources you need in their link tree. And Robert, just want to open this mic to give you an opportunity to maybe cover something that we did not hit on that is crucial or important for the listeners here today to understand about Genie.
Okay, thank you. Well, Genius is very, very new and being deployed, and it's undergoing something I call price discovery, which all cryptos do in the beginning. Liquidity providers love that because typically there's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs, but there's a lot of liquidity providing fees being generated. So liquidity providers love that. But in general, Genius was recently launched. It's discovering its price through all 4 chains. And Genius really offers a lot of opportunity for people to learn in the DeFi space. DeFi and Genius itself offer a lot of opportunity for people who want to look into saving differently, or people who are traders and they're looking for some type of arbitrage. Ultimately, a lot of this boils down to is, Genius, it's early. A lot of crypto people, they know how it goes with things that are early and novel. Genius is super novel. For people who are interested in math, the novelty lies in the fact that Genius doesn't do math the way all of these protocols do. Its math and all of its numbers are based on something called the golden ratio. And this, to my understanding, this has never been done in any sort of capacity for the financial space on a full scale. The golden ratio, by the way, for anyone, that was used to make better looking statues in the Greek days and to find patterns in nature that were once considered random and impossible to figure out, like population of rabbits and stuff. But so Genius is very different at its core. It's absolutely a diamond in the rough. I personally have studied so many cryptocurrencies, their inner workings. And I gotta say Genius is very much out of this world. It's very interesting. And the more people who learn about it and find out about it, or people who don't, but they just see the benefits that the Genius users have received. I really believe that people are going to really like Genius and really be blown away by what it brings, what new innovations and new inventions it brings to the DeFi space. It's truly special.
Certainly. Genius, it's very intriguing. There's a lot to it. I'm going to be jumping in, doing my research, and I love the presentation that you brought here today. And Maurice, you always are picking gems, man. You're always bringing quality to the table. So I don't know. Did you want to comment on Genius as well before we move on to the next project?
No, I mean, I definitely want to just say thank you again for giving Robert and Genius the opportunity and the platform. We first had the chance to AMA them back on May 11th, so kind of around when the placeholder, the sacrifice event went into reality. So again, really cool just to reconnect and allow them the opportunity just to share what they're trying to build. And again, some of Robert's knowledge and understanding of the space is always good for me because, again, he's one of the more knowledgeable people I've ever come across in my own network. So always great to hear from him. Thanks again, A1.
Thank you, Maurice. And thank you very much for having me speak here. I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to listening to everyone else on this. Thank you.
Absolutely. Robert, it was a pleasure. Definitely seems like a resource or someone, if you're into the blockchain or cryptocurrencies in general, someone that we can all learn from. So I appreciate the intelligence that you're bringing to the table here today. So thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
All right.